Let's see what happens today. It's Thursday. Is it? Yeah, it's the 28th of December. Right there. That'll do. Hello, people. Just getting my motor going here. What's going on? As I lay in bed this morning, getting ready to get up, I say to myself, I don't really have anything to say. Of course, that's really not true. It's more like, well, what I'm thinking about is not so much music related, and I'm realizing that, I can share my thoughts, but it won't really help anything. And if anything, it may cause folks to get triggered, which I'm not interested in dealing with that. And yet at the same time, I don't like the idea of thinking I can't talk about things that I'm thinking about. So that's what I'm going over in my head right now. I really only have one, I think I only have one record to show that I haven't shown recently, because that's what I'd like to do, just to keep it interesting. So I'll show this and then I'll share. I went down a rabbit hole last night on the internet. But when I went to bed, for the first time in a long time, I burned a CD of this, the Dark Side Mix, IO. For the longest time now, I don't listen to music when I go to bed unless I'm reviewing work that I'm working on. So last night was the first time I burned a CD of this and went to bed listening to it. However, it didn't work. It kept me awake because it's so good. So good. And his voice, I love Peter Gabriel's voice. It's he sings from the heart. You can feel it. Playing for Time right now is my favorite song. And interestingly enough, it's the words as well as the music. So see, nothing is fast and hard in stone regarding my so-called rules. I just tell you what I feel. And I feel like, a lot of words are crap and we put too much focus on it. I think a lot of people just are oblivious to some major beauty when all they're doing is listening to the words. So that new Peter Gabriel is amazing. But what's interesting is I found myself, I switched back to my latest mix CD of what I'm working on to go back to sleep. Because it's just kind of natural. What happens is that as I'm listening to my work, I'm dissecting it, thinking about this, thinking about that, and the next thing you know, I'm asleep. So there's that. But yesterday, I decided to go ahead and watch a couple of bear with me, people, if you don't like this, just go ahead and turn it off now. I've watched a couple of pro-Trump videos on YouTube. My stance towards him and all that he represents is solid. He's not good. He's not a good person. The other thing that I'm really looking into is AI, what's coming, and then I like philosophy. And there's who is it? Dr. Donald Hoffman, who's talking about space-time as just a headset. Boy, does that make sense. So maybe I don't even want to find this video in my history, but it was totally praising and up and spinning the history of the Trump family into some sort of heroic, ongoing gesture, which was that's just it's misinformation. And it's so unfortunate that the misinformation is so very effective, so very effective. And when I looked at the comments, I'm actually doing two things here. I'm reading comments online and talking to you. I need to talk to this lady here. That's man, I almost want to stop the video and but I will get there. I will get back to this. So anyway, as I looked at it and looked at the comments from people who are just, gung ho about this horrible person, it's like, well, there's nothing to be done here. I just, all I can do is watch and see if the justice system can get the job done, because it's a very weird time. Very weird. But it's been predicted by many books. So, I had mentioned to you that unfortunately Tony Oxley, the drummer, has passed away. And yesterday I was looking in my discography to see what else I might have that he plays on. And someone mentioned the John McLaughlin Extrapolation. That is a great album. And if I see it real quick, is that it? Yep. Yeah, Tony's playing on this is wonderful. This is an early John McLaughlin solo album, if not his first. I don't know which one is first, possibly this one. But this is wonderful. Tony Oxley on drums. John Sermon. But the other thing that I pulled, because this is an album I've had so long that I forget about it. This album goes back to my teen years. It was actually given to me by the Reese brothers, who I've told you about, the Air Force brats. This is the Baden-Baden Free Jazz Orchestra, hooked up with the Art Ensemble of Chicago and other European musicians. And this happened in, I think, 1969 or 1970. It was an East meets West sort of thing, jazz-wise. Getting to Know Y'all is the name of the album. And this is really intense. Look at that. I mean, look at that lineup. Art Ensemble of Chicago, Dave Burrell, Karen Krogh, Terry Ripdahl. Good Lord Almighty, Albert Mangelsdorf. I mean, everybody's here. And it explains here that this was, the idea was a meeting of the two schools. Yes. So this is intense. It's mostly improvised, and it's intense. There's one part where art ensemble members start chanting, "Where are the other voices? Where are the other voices?" And then they get to the point where they're frantic, screaming, and it's like, "Oh boy, do I get it now?" It's about unity. Where are the other voices? Why aren't we all together? It's really intense. Tony Oxley's on drums, plus other drummers. It's very good. So the other thing that I've been watching right now for a couple of days is Dr. Hoffman, and I like that. I'm curious about reality, and he is talking about something that the ancients have been talking about, but in a different way, and that makes sense to me. I found myself thinking these thoughts way long time ago before I read stuff like it. Conventional science still sees the space-time that as that is fundamental. But science has already shown us, and I really understand it much better now. You know, quantum theory, and then also the double slit and all that sort of stuff. We can see that our reality is completely subjected to our interaction with it. Things are things literally aren't there when they're not observed. You know, the whole idea of particles and being waves at the same time, and the fractal nature of reality, how when science keeps trying to go down to the smallest thing to find the smallest thing, and general relativity just falls apart after a certain point, and not even that small, trying to find the Planck scale. I'm intrigued by this line of thinking, and it informs me the way that I live, because one of the things that the ancients and also Dr. Hoffman says really well is the fundamental um, aspect of reality is consciousness, and that in fact we, well, this is what he says. I like it. We experience ourselves as these small little bits of separate life inside this big bowl of reality, when in fact probably what's happening is that we are consciousness experiencing itself through the headset of our avatar. It makes sense to me. So I was checking that out and digging that. It also totally feeds into my disdain for politics, period. Especially though, what we're dealing with right now with a really horrible person who all he cares about is what he wants, and demonizing people that are against him. That is really low. That is not. There's no wisdom there. You know, it's not. It's a one side against the other. How can that be wise? How can that be high? How can that be enlightened? It's not. You know, I was looking at the comments on the video, and I said to myself, "Yeah, this is a viper's nest. There would be no point in commenting or engaging these folks. All they will do is attack. They don't want clarity. They want what they want. It's sad. It's an antichrist situation, people. I ain't afraid to say it. When I was younger and I went to monastery, and even before that and after, I studied. I've read the whole Bible. The whole Bible, okay? Twice. And then obviously I referenced it a lot through the years. And I'm not a Bible beater. But all the high books in the world, including the Bible, talk about this situation that we're in. And it's so, to me, it's so typical of what would happen is that the event that was predicted happens. Someone wakes up and says, oh, this is where we're at. The majority of people will say, no, we're not, because they have this fixed idea of what's supposed to happen, as though they know what's supposed to happen. When in reality, what was described is happening. We have an antichrist figure. Very, very, very. It's a real bad focus of energy for the world right now. So anyway, that's the latest with me. And just to keep babbling, I talked to Dereck Presnell from Icky Blossoms last night and congratulated him. He asked if I was at the show. I said, heck no. You know, I said, you know, I'm an old fogey. You know, if I can stay at home snug as a bug, I will. You didn't need me, so I didn't go. He was a bit bummed, you know, but it's like, I want to be on the stage. I want to be in it. I want to get the glory. I've played with Icky Blossom several times live, as you know, and I love the experience of being plugged into an audience that's into you. I played a lot of shows. I've only played a few shows to huge audiences where the audience was really into what was being played and I was part of it. That's quite an experience. That's quite a natural high. I love it. I'd love to experience it again. I would. So I was happy for them, and I get paid today. I'm keeping that money. I am, it's like, I don't mean to be cold, but I try not to worry about my family out in California, but I just knew it didn't make any sense to me. As hard as money has come by from my family, that all these people would move out to California where it's too expensive to live. You know, I don't live there. Frustrates me a little bit. You know what I mean? I'm just going. So, last thing I think I'll say is it's been a while since I've done New Year's resolutions because I found they were futile and really unproductive. And this whole idea of, will next year be better than last year? Well, really all it is a mental reset because nothing, it's still reality. Nothing changes. A number on a calendar changes. Possibly our mentality or perceptions will change as we enter a new year. But 2024 is going to be a clusterfuck like this year has been. And I don't like this, but I was listening on the radio to NPR, and the scientists are saying it too. Climatologists, it's like, everybody wants to hear, will things be better next year? No, we are dealing with the buildup of carbon output for generations, and it'll take generations to clean it up. And the other part of it is that we're dealing with these shyster politician leaders who talk, do nothing. I can't prove it, but I'll bet you this climate accord that just happened and all these agreements that were made and people saying they're doing this, in fact, I'll bet you less than 0.1% of businesses are doing anything to reduce emissions. Nothing, probably. I bet you. So 2024 is going to be a handful, and the climate's going to be a big part of it. So that's what's on my mind. People say they like to watch me because it's comforting. If my words are upsetting or make you think of sad things, well, just listen to what I say and then move on. Okay, I'm just sharing what I'm thinking. When I'm done here, I'll move on to the next thing. I'm not going to sit here grousing about how bad things are. I'm just sharing some thoughts. Okay, people, have a good day.